Bonjour tout le monde, nous allons faire le verbe boire et prendre aujourd'hui. On y va. As you already know, the verb manger, which you learned in chapitre 3, is a regular ER verb. Its counterpart, boire, to drink, however, is an irregular verb. So remember, manger means to eat. Je mange un sandwich. So boire is irregular. So irregular means it doesn't follow the same pattern as ER verbs. So, or RE verbs. So je bois, you just need to memorize it. It's unique to itself. So je bois, I drink or I'm drinking. Tu bois, elle boit. Nous buvons, vous buvez. Ils, elles boivent. So they drink or they are drinking. So some examples, go ahead and take the opportunity to do some translation here. Je bois du café le matin. I am drinking coffee this morning. I'm drinking some coffee this morning. Nous ne buvons pas de vin. We are not drinking wine. Il préfère boire de l'eau. So remember here, il préfère, that is conjugated. So boire is in the infinitive. The infinitive is when the verb is not conjugated. So il préfère boire de l'eau. So they prefer to drink water. The other verb that's common when you're talking about drinking or eating something is prendre. So prendre means to take, but it's often used in context with je prends une bière. So I'm drinking a beer. So to take, and it's the same in Spanish. Tomar means to take, but tomar also means tomar una copa, to take an alcoholic drink. So here we go with the conjugation of this RE verb. Je prends, tu prends. So I take or I'm taking, I drink or I'm drinking, I eat or I'm eating. Tu prends, il, elle prend, nous prenons, vous prenez, il, elle prenons. Oh, and I'm missing one of my N's here, so make sure you guys have two N's there. So just remember, the verb prendre is normally the equivalent to take in English, but is also very commonly used as a synonym of both manger and boire when talking about food and drink. So, par exemple, what I want you to do first is conjugate or translate these sentences, and then the next activity I'm going to show you how they can be the equivalent of each other. So, il prend son sac à dos. He's taking his backpack. Je prends le bus ce soir, so this should be a C. Je prends le bus ce soir. I'm taking the bus tonight. Qu'est-ce que vous prenez ce matin? What are you having to drink or eat this morning? So, wow, this is all context, right? Because I'm talking about this morning. You know, I know that they're talking about what you're eating or drinking. I guess unless you're going on a trip, it could mean what are you taking. So you have to tell by context. Je vais prendre un café. So this is the one that's a good example because we have café in it. We know that it's going to be talking about drinking. You're talking about coffee. I am going to drink a coffee. Je vais prendre un café. Prendre here is an infinitive because je vais comes from the verb aller, to go. I am going to drink. So, other verbs conjugated in the same way as prendre include apprendre and comprendre. So, apprendre means to learn. J'apprends français. Je ne comprends pas le professeur. Prendre also appears in a number of common idiomatic expressions. So, prendre une décision, to make a decision. So if I want to say I've made a decision, j'ai pris une décision. Je prends une décision. Je vais prendre une décision. I'm going to make a decision. Ou, je ne vais pas prendre de poids. I am not going to gain weight. Je prends de poids pendant les vacances. So I gain weight. I take on weight during vacation. parce que je mange beaucoup de mal aliments. Okay, so je prends un verre, un pas, to go out for a drink. So kind of like I said, tomar una copa, prendre un verre is the same thing. To go out for a drink, usually, normally it refers to an alcoholic drink. So these are common phrases you would see with prendre. So in chapter 4, you learned that the pronoun en can be used to replace the preposition de and a geographical location. Pierre revient de France demain et sa femme en revient la semaine prochaine. It can also be used to replace the partitive article and a food item. In this context, en means some, any, or of it. Remember that en is placed directly before the verb, with which it forms a single unit. When negation is used, n apostrophe precedes the pronoun en plus verb, and pas follows it. Oh my gosh, well that's hard to understand, so let's try to put that into practice here. Il boit souvent du café. He often drinks some coffees. Remember, we can use du to say some, especially if we can't quantify it, when it's not necessarily like a quantified noun. Il en boit souvent. So what do you think that means? Il boit souvent du café. He often drinks some café. Il en boit souvent. He often drinks some. He often drinks some. So in this context, en is replacing the café. Il mange beaucoup de pain. He eats a lot of bread. Il en mange beaucoup. He eats a lot of it. So I had this conversation recently, and this is something I always did with my language learning as well. So these are definitely a little more advanced grammatical situations. And until you figure it out, it is okay just to speak as simple as possible. So that's what I always do in French or Spanish. I speak in the most simple way that would still get my point across. And then as I get more confident in the language, as I start to understand the language more, then I add in du café. Instead, I might say, il boit souvent le café, is probably what I would say. He often drinks coffee. I would say le café because that's what I know. I wouldn't necessarily say du café, but the more confident I get with the language, eventually I'll say du café. So remember, there's lots of ways to say things in French. You're not going to get it right away. It's impossible to, because it takes a lot of practice and repetition. And so till you get to that point, use the basic foundations you know, and then add on these lessons that I'm giving you. And it'll make more sense maybe later on. So don't beat yourself up about it. Definitely a process. When in doubt, always use imitation. Imitation works really well when trying to learn a language. So the last one, il ne prend pas de sucre. So he doesn't take any sugar. Il n'en prend pas. He doesn't take any. So the en is almost becoming like a direct object and being like he's not taking any. It's replacing the noun. But don't fret. This was just, to let you know that this is a possibility. If you are still confused, that's okay. Go back to what you know and slowly continue to build on that. Okay, so here, what I want you guys to do with these sentences is I want you to replace both these verbs with the verb prendre. Okay, so you're going to conjugate it the same way to agree with the subject pronoun, but you're going to take this, for example, je mange un sandwich. I want you to say je prends un sandwich. Okay, so go ahead and do that with the next three. So, and they both mean I'm eating a sandwich. So again, it's just a matter of preference and a matter of what you're feeling at that moment and what you can remember when you're trying to speak on point in a language. So again, I'll just reiterate this. Like if I was under pressure, I would say je mange before I said je prends, just because that's what I know is to eat. And that's fine. And that's absolutely fine. Tu bois du vin. Tu prends du vin. Elle boit souvent un coca. Elle prend souvent un coca. She drinks a Coca-Cola often. Nous mangeons une quiche ce soir. Nous prenons une quiche ce soir. So we are eating a quiche tonight. Oh, I was just talking about quiche last night. I love quiche. Quiche est très français. Okay, so The next activity, go ahead. We just have you practicing mange and boire, conjugating them. And in your quiz exercise, you'll have more practice with prendre. So take the time that you need to conjugate these, and then I will give you les réponses. So, quand Chantal a faim, when she is hungry, elle mange un croque-monsieur, un sandwich à jambon fromage grillé. Numéro 2, Daniel, comme tous les enfants français, ne boit pas de lait avec ses repas. Danielle, like most infants, like all children, French children, do not drink their milk with dinner. With their meals. Excuse me. Et toi, tu bois de jus d'orange? And you, do you drink orange juice? Oui, moi, j'aime le jus d'orange, mais je bois quelquefois. I drink sometimes. Est-ce que vous buvez de la bière? Est-ce que vous buvez de la bière? Do you drink beer? Moi, je ne bois pas la bière. Je préfère le vin. Aussi, je sais pas. Mais je ne préfère pas la bière. Numéro 5, je mange des tartines le matin, du pain avec du beurre et de la confiture. Numéro 6, est-ce que tu manges beaucoup de légumes verts? Quand j'ai soif, when I am thirsty, je bois de l'eau minérale. I drink mineral water. Et numéro 8, quand vous avez faim, when you are hungry, vous mangez un yaourt or des fruits. So this was more practice with boire and manger. And part of your lesson today, which you guys will see in your content, is discovering France's regions through gastronomy. And so it's the delights of Normandy. So we can go to a different part of France and see how the food affects their culture up north. So hopefully this was a little bit lighter lesson. I know it wasn't as challenging maybe as the partitive or the geographical ones that we've been doing. So just a little bit of verb conjugation here. I hope that you all have a great day. On y va et bonne journée.